What's going on, guys? Dark Saint here, bringing you guys another video about the Division. In this video we're going to be covering how to build the absolute 100% strongest knee pads in the game. First thing we're going to do is we're going to compare the 182 high-end gear versus the 191 gear set, and if you guys have not noticed yet, the 182 is in fact stronger than the 191. Now, for those of you guys that are interested in my interesting facts about the Division, figured I'd go ahead and cover some more little math tricks that you can do to figure out your armor range in comparison to your attribute range on any given armor piece. Now, I've already covered the masks, the gloves, and the holster in the last video, so in this video I figured I would cover the chest armor, the backpack, and the knee pads. Interestingly enough, the chest armor is 1.5 times that of the attribute. You take your attribute, multiply it by 1.5, and that will give you your armor range. As far as the backpack, they are identical. Armor range is the exact same as the attribute range. It's a 1-to-1 scale. And for the knee pads are 1.25 times that of the attribute. So if you know your attribute range, just multiply that by 1.25, and that'll give you your armor range for that specific gear piece. Moving right along, next thing we're going to look at is the 204 high-end versus the 214 gear set. And again, you'll notice the 204 high-end is actually stronger than the 214 gear set. But like I've covered in most of my videos, carrying 4 gear sets gives you the gear set perk. So those are always nice to have. Now, some of you guys might have been wondering why I didn't bother putting in the talents or putting in, what the gear set perks are. That's actually because I'm going to cover that in a video coming out shortly. I'm going to be covering all the talents on all the gear sets and on the high ends and telling you guys what are the best ways to build them. The reason I didn't do this here is because I want these to mainly be focused on your armor ratings, your attribute ratings, and the specific major and minor attributes on the items themselves so that you guys know what to look for. The reason I did it separate is because it would take me 30-45 minutes to go through everything on every single piece, and in this way you guys can look at what you're looking for in armor and attributes, and then there'll be a separate video going over all the talents on them, and then of course your ultimate build video that I will be doing shortly after that. This way you guys can jump to right what you want rather than having to scroll through 35-40 minutes of conversation talking about every single itty bitty little detail. So I hope this helps you guys out. Now, before I go over the major and minor attributes of the knee pads, I do need to cover one more thing, and that is the comparison between the 240 gear set and the 204 high-end. Now, yes, you guys already know the 240 gear set is the strongest armor in the game currently. However, replacing a couple of them with 204 might still be more beneficial to you guys. Of course, the 240 gear set running 4 pieces gives you the gear set bonus, but then that frees up 2 slots that you can choose what you want to put in there. Now, in some situations, running one of the other gear sets, just running 2 armor pieces, doesn't seem to make sense. In those situations, it might be more beneficial to go ahead and equip some 204 high-end. Now, even though the armor rating is lower and the attribute range is lower, some of that can be ignored altogether. Say, for example, the armor. Even though you might lose a little bit of armor range, most of the time your armor is going to max out at 65% anyway. So once you have your 65% armor mitigation, it doesn't matter how much higher your armor goes. 65% is max. So you're really not going to be losing out on anything in this specific category. As for your attributes, yes, you can lose out a little bit in the attribute area that can lower your DPS in some situations, or lower your stamina in some situations, or even lower your electronics in certain situations. However, running some of the high-end talents can not only make up for that, it can excel beyond what you're losing. So that's just something to consider for you guys that are looking for the ultimate build. And this can range from PvE to PvP, and we will be going over that in another video once I go over the ultimate builds of the game. Reason it's not in this video is, like I said, it would take just way too much time to cover all the details about it. Mainly here is just covering the numbers and covering the best bonuses that you can get as far as major and minor attributes. Alright, you guys, the numbers are behind us, the hidden facts about the division are behind us. Let's go ahead and jump into this and look at how to make these knee pads as strong as they can be. Now looking at your major attribute slots, you have between the choices of critical hit damage, armor, damage to elites, protection from elites, exotic damage resilience, health, or a gear mod slot. That being said, you can only have one gear mod slot. You are not allowed to have both of these being gear mod slots. So really, the choices are really simple in my opinion. It comes down to critical hit damage or a gear mod slot. Now the reason I say this is the damage to elites and the protection from elites is actually very, very, very small on these knee pads. The health is irrelevant as you can put a gear mod slot on with stamina and not only get all that health, but plus some. You can excel way beyond the amount of health that you would get. As far as the exotic damage resilience, even though it is there and it's fairly nice, exotic damage resilience only protects you from skills and nothing else. Now, like I said, critical hit damage in a gear mod slot is probably the best way to go for knee pads. However, if you do want to clear out something else somewhere else, you can go ahead and change out the gear mod slot for armor or the critical hit damage for armor so that you can clear up an armor slot in another situation such as your backpack. Like I said before in another video, if you're already close to 65% armor mitigation, you can go ahead and put the armor on your knee pads and free up a slot on your backpack. That being said, I wouldn't recommend doing anything with your armor on this. I would definitely recommend just sticking to your critical hit damage and your gear mod slot. I feel like you'd be a lot happier with that. That being said, we're not even looking at the major attributes for knee pads. Really what you're looking at for knee pads is your resistances. And these resistances are amazing. They have really high stats on the knee pads. These include 3 slots to put in 3 different resistances of your choice. In these slots, you can equip burn resistance, scavenging, disorientated resistance, increased kill XP, bleed resistance, disrupt resistance, blind death resistance, enemy armor damage, and shock resistance. Now, for me, you can go ahead and equip your increased kill XP and your scavenging if you're trying to level up in the dark zone, if you're trying to level up your character, and if you're trying to find better gear. However, once you're at max level or really getting really close to max level, and you already are above level 75, there's nothing really in the dark zone you really need, you can go ahead and take off your scavenging and your increased kill XP and look at something else, because scavenging really only benefits you super effectively in the dark zone, and the increased kill XP, you're going to reach max level soon enough anyway. So after you've done that, you don't need these anymore. Now you can start looking at your resistances. Now for me, going off the best resistances on this list, I'd be between the burn resistance and the shock resistance, as if you're on fire, you can't shoot back, you're just stuck there burning, and you guys know a lot of people use flame rounds, and that can be very, very annoying. While you're burned, you cannot use skills, you cannot run, you're at a big disadvantage. So having higher burn resistance will help get those flames off of you faster so you can get back in the fight. As far as shock resistance, you definitely want shock resistance, as many players run the shock turret. And though you may still get shocked, the higher the shock resistance, the quicker you can get out of that shock and get back in the fight. The other one I would look at would probably be the bleed resistance. One, because bleeding makes it to where you can't run. You can still shoot and you can still fight back, but you will be gradually losing health, and it can be very annoying, and it can in the end kill you. So I would recommend that bleed resistance. The second reason I would recommend it is just look how high that goes. It is one of the highest resistances in this list. So easily for me, it would be bleed resistance, burn resistance, and shock resistance. The ones to avoid would be the blind death resistance, the disrupt resistance, and the disorient resistance. As though they are annoying, they are not life-threatening. Now the last thing you'll cover is, of course, the minor attribute, which is affected by your skill. Whatever skill you guys choose to use will go in this slot. Either way, you guys, that pretty much wraps up everything that needs to be covered in this video. This is the best way to build your knee pads. I will be covering all the hidden skills on your high end and your gear set in the next video, and then the video following that I will make the God mode roll, showing you guys the 100% best way to build armor in the division, and I will try and give you guys a good estimate of how high your stats would be. I am going to do a multitude of different builds covering your firearms, your tank, and of course your electronics build. And I'll probably do a glass cannon build as well, so look forward to those. Either way, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video with your friends. Let them know what you guys have learned, and I'll catch you guys next time.